This week on CrunchWeek, we are talking about tech stocks' big meltdown, Facebook's new M digital assistant, and why YouTube is taking on Amazon.
This week was an interesting week in the market.
Well, that's a polite way of putting it. Catastrophe, but yeah, I'll take interesting.
Wait. Okay, so what do you mean catastrophe, whatever?
Catastrophe. It's a very medical term for when things all go at the same time. China fell apart last week, Thursday, Friday, huge meltdowns there, including into Monday. It spilled over into U.S. stocks, and tech stocks got wrecked, frankly, throughout the week. There was a rebound towards the end, but we've seen a correction on the scale that people have been calling for a long time. And I think it scared more people than we expected. I was surprised by the scale of like, oh crap, what's going on?
Is this like the correction that people have been talking about for a while, or like?
Not yet.
Not yet?
Well, I mean, it's a prelude thereof, but it's not the full thing.
Okay.
Though I've heard that for startups, they should be thinking about making sure that they leave enough time to be raising, and if they get a deal, even if it's not the valuation as high as they want, they should probably take it because it's a little bit sketchy right now.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, bunker down a little bit, hunker down, get some capital in the door, cut your burn, don't hire quite as fast, don't dump so much in marketing. People are now a little more conservative than they were 2 weeks ago, or fortnight, whatever you want to call it. And I think that's probably a fair reaction to the turmoil that we're seeing.
Yeah, it sounds sometimes that like investors are saying like make sure you have the capital to get through the next 12, 18 months, 24 months, just in case things start to go sour. Right. Because you never know when the sort of private markets, which are just totally exploding as usual, are going to start being affected by like the sort of downturn in the public markets, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, if this is the chaos that's caused by one 10% downturn in American markets, imagine if it was 30%. I mean, this is exponential, not linear. So that would be 10 times the impact, not just 3 times. And so if we see any more weakness globally that spills over again into our markets, we could really see a contraction on valuations across private companies, and that could harm any VC that you know, any LP that you know, any startup that you know, and could definitely dampen new capital flow into companies. And so that could hurt Series A, B, C rounds, and so forth. So it could be really bad, but we're still a little too early yet to see this is that kind of correctional moment.
So if I'm a startup, what am I doing right now?
I think you're making sure you don't vaporize like Zirtual, you don't run out of money.
That was a good joke, actually. Good girly reference. I like that. No, sorry, that was actually Andreessen. Yeah.
Another massive thing that happened this week was Facebook M. Facebook finally officially announced its personal assistant built into Messenger. So basically what M does is you can just text it any request. You can ask it to buy you something, book an appointment, plan travel, or really do anything that a personal assistant would do, and it'll do it for you. And the way that it does this is that it's based on AI, but really there's humans behind it. So the humans will take your request, they'll structure out the answer or the solution to that, and they're teaching the artificial intelligence how to do that automated and automatically in the future.
So right now they're using essentially humans to take requests, process them, and take that learning experience, apply that to the AI. So after enough human interactions, the computer can therefore kind of see the patterns and then deploy them itself.
Right. Ideally, eventually, Facebook won't need a huge army of contractors to be answering these requests manually, but that's how it's starting to do it. Though right now, it's only in a tiny little beta test in in the Bay Area.
How small is tiny? Is it like a couple dozen? What's the?
They said a few hundred.
Okay, a few hundred. Okay, so very small.
That's not a lot.
And the question is, if that's just a few hundred and it's already taking a lot of work for it to do this, and Facebook has almost 1.5 billion users, it hit 1 billion users in a single day on Monday, it's going to take a long time for this to get to everyone. So don't be like chomping at the bit checking Messenger every morning to see if you have M.
How long does it take to roll these products out normally?
I mean, it took Facebook almost 2 years to roll out the timeline update for profiles, and that was theoretically a lot less complex.
Why, Josh? What were they? Did they just knock off to Burning Man for 2 years and then like hit a button when they got back? Like, what took that amount of time?
I mean, the issue is basically that when you change a fundamental service that people rely on as a utility, they go crazy, and so you have to do it slowly and make sure you're doing it as well as possible and not destroying things, removing functionality that people care about, or not just like breaking your system by dividing it in half. And so,
Facebook is the new Office. Right? Everyone has one feature they use they can't do without, and so whenever they change anything at all, everyone loses their shit.
That's true.
So Facebook is now Word 97.
Facebook has gotten a lot better about ignoring that, but really what I'm interested in is the impact this is going to have on the messaging war. So for years, all these different messaging apps, like WeChat, Line, KakaoTalk, Kik, they're all basically competing with very little differentiation. You know, one might be more about media, one might have more connections with businesses, or one might be about stickers, but they're all basically an app for texting. Facebook's really trying to go to a whole new level and escalate that messaging war by doing something that only it can do, which is spending a ton of money, because it has a ton of money. It's making almost, $700 million in profit per quarter now. It has a huge audience because between WhatsApp with 800 million users and Messenger with 700 million users, there's a lot of people that want that, and it can really roll it out to a huge amount of people eventually once it gets this thing fixed. And it has this massive artificial intelligence lab that it's been working on that really only Google has a rival to. And so the fact is that the other messaging companies are not going to be able to follow this. So if Facebook can make this something that people actually want to use, and it's not just a throwaway feature that's annoying and it's just more work than it's used for, then I think it could really run away with the messaging fight.
So messaging is a platform then, not just a sort of messaging service.
Right. I mean, it rolled out its platform earlier this year with little apps that you can add in, but this is a game changer in terms of messaging. I mean, why we think of messaging as just hitting up other friends about what we want to hang out with them and what we want to do with them. This is going to take it to a whole new level of utility.
So there's messaging, there's Siri, Cortana, Google Now, and then there's like AI magic do shit for me, right?
Yeah.
So this is kind of a combination of all three into one. Do I really want all that in the same bucket, or is that kind of a distraction from the core use of the app?
Why is Facebook getting into this?
Yeah.
Because I think eventually this unlocks an enormous amount of spend. People spend a lot of money with businesses, but right now a lot of times it's kind of inefficient and annoying to fiddle with their websites or go there in person, or there's complex tasks that they don't know how to do, or they'd spend more money if they just had somebody to help with them with it. I think Facebook could eventually make a ton of money on this if it has go-to providers of different services. Let's say you want to book flights, it might be able to get bulk discounts from a certain airline and then make money on the margin. Or what I really think is going to happen is that you'll see ads in the newsfeed on Facebook that trigger M requests. So you're like, hey, do you want to get an appointment at this thing? Don't fiddle with OpenTable. Just message the M personal assistant, hey, I want a reservation here. And you might be able to just activate that request with just a single click from an ad. So I think that's where, Facebook is an ads company at the end. It doesn't have to monetize Messenger. So I think that's going to be why this is a big deal for this
not
company.
like WeChat that has like commercial stuff built into it. This is more of an external application on top of the Messenger system.
Well, so if I'm a retailer and basically I'm relying on Facebook to drive traffic to my site and to drive commerce, and all of a sudden if all of this, if buy is essentially living on Facebook, how am I feeling as a retailer then?
I think it's fine because you're still providing whatever you sell. And Facebook's going to go to you when somebody wants that. If somebody wants to buy a Nike shoe, they're not going to buy it from Facebook. Technically, they might buy it through Facebook, though. The money's still going to end up going to Nike. And I think really this could unlock a lot of spend, because a lot of times I might just not buy a new pair of shoes because it's annoying to walk to the shoe store. But if I could just tell them, hey, I need this pair in 7s, and the Messenger can message me back and be like, hey, we don't have that exact model, but there's a different one that looks like this. Is that cool? And you're like, yes. All of a sudden, you're spending money you wouldn't have spent
anyway. Will all payments route through Facebook? Do they control that payment flow?
So
that's where you can take out some
Messenger
margin.
has payments built into it right now. You can add a credit card to Messenger.
Facebook, sorry, so yeah.
Yeah, it's they built that in a few months ago, and people weren't really sure why. At the time, it was for peer-to-peer payments, sort of like Venmo, where you could pay your friend back for something. But obviously, they're laying the groundwork for a serious commerce experience inside of Messenger.
So speaking of massive competitors for something like this for Facebook, YouTube has, Google, Alphabet, right? Alpha Google YouTube. YouTube has launched its own, or I think it's launched its own, basically gaming-centric service, much in the same way that Twitch has, right?
Yeah.
It's basically a Twitch clone.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, they've had a
these have always turned out very well.
Time, right? I mean, this is not their first live streaming platform. People have been using YouTube to stream games for some time. It's been popular on different tournaments, but this is their first main push into the varietal as a concerted effort, I feel.
And it's a big deal because Twitch has gotten huge. There's tons and tons of people streaming games. It's become one of the most popular activities online. Amazon bought it for what we think is kind of a steal for $2 billion, and
$1 billion.
$1 billion.
Yeah.
Oh, only $1 billion.
Then
that's
only $1 billion.
It's like Instagram. It's a complete steal.
I know, right? Can I just get off the fucking Ferris wheel of this year? It lost so much money. They bought it for $1 billion. That's not cheap.
I think it's going to be cheap when you're talking about these brands that can go on. People spend a lot of money on video games, and if Amazon is the place that you watch your video games, it's also going to be the place that you buy them.
This is something where game developers are literally testing their games and sort of looking for market fit. Like you look at something like Hearthstone, their beta tests were all over Twitch, right? You're sort of basically marketing on Twitch, right?
But the real question is whether YouTube is going to be able to succeed here, because we've seen problems with companies trying to do this before. before. If you remember back to when Snapchat was this big threat and Facebook's like, we're going to crush them with our own app called Poke. It's going to have more features and we have this huge reach. Obviously, we're going to win. But you know what they found out? You can clone features. You cannot clone community.
Yeah, but I mean,
YouTube comments.
Well, also YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube comments. What a horrible community. That's like a terrible place to start.
But no one reads them. But I mean, like, the YouTube has had a large gaming community for a very long time, going back in esports to when it was only kind of a South Korean StarCraft scene. People would actually upload VODs to YouTube for years. And so this is not kind of a out of whole cloth creation. Gamers have been on YouTube for a long time, even in the gaming sense. I mean, Machinima's on there. There's a big network built in, so it's not just they're like, whee. It's better than that.
Well, I think that's all the time we have for this week. Thanks for joining us.